This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, and faith-focused feature stories with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Good afternoon. Welcome aboard. Iran's lost another leader, taken out today in an Israeli airstrike. This guy, Ali Larijani, was secretary of Iran's National Security Council and considered the highest-ranking official next to the newly named supreme ruler. Correspondent Simon Marks gets us started.
Ali Larijani was the country's top security official. Just 3 weeks ago, he was in Geneva, leading Iran's delegation in talks with the United States.
More on the late Ali Larijani from the BBC's Jeremy Bowen.
He is being seen as a man of flexibility, somebody who sees all the angles, and he's seen as a man that maybe you could do business with, but the issue is the Israelis don't want to do business with any of them.
The head of Iran's Gestapo-like police also killed today by an Israeli missile. He was responsible for commanding the crackdown on protesters earlier this year all across Iran. President Trump says he cannot be sure if Iran's supreme ruler is dead or alive.
And a lot of people are saying that he's badly disfigured. They're saying that he lost his leg.
The commander-in-chief thinks there are people inside of Iran who want to make a deal to end the war.
We don't know who their leader is. We have people wanting to negotiate. We have no idea who they are.
The Trump administration sending in another 5,000 troops to the war zone as the conflict nears its 3-week mark. NBC's Richard Engel.
Senior Iranian official spoke to our colleague at Sky News, and he told them that if the U.S. does decide to send ground troops into Iran, it will become another Vietnam.
Despite the shellacking Iran is taking in Operation Epic Fury, it continues to rain down bombs on Arab states throughout the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iraq all targeted overnight. Explosions were heard near the American embassy in Baghdad. Fox's Nate Foy has the latest on the U.S. military campaign.
Central Command has now hit more than 7,000 targets during this war. And President Trump is pressuring countries that rely on the region's oil to help open the Strait of Hormuz. He thinks that's going to happen.
So far, Germany, Italy, and Japan have all declined to send ships to the Strait of Hormuz to protect it from Iranian attacks. That strategic waterway connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. The price of gas continues to go in the wrong direction.
The national average for a gallon of regular jumped overnight to $3.79, according to AAA. That's up from $3.71 on Monday. A week ago, the national average was at $3.53. Drivers in California continue seeing the highest prices at $5.54 a gallon. I'm Mark Mayfield.
President Trump says it would be his honor to take over communist Cuba, the island nation reeling from a power grid crisis. Rolling blackouts are ongoing, much of the island without electricity after the U.S. shut off the flow of Venezuelan oil.
More than 10 million people are without power 3 months into a U.S.-imposed oil blockade that's left the communist country reliant on solar, natural gas, and aging thermoelectric generating plants.
Correspondent Vicki Barker, the lines are getting longer at the nation's airports as a partial government shutdown takes its toll on TSA workers. Aviation expert Chris Van Cleve.
The vast majority of TSA officers are on the job, but those sick calls are growing by the day as some simply can't afford to come to work. The disruptions are spotty but becoming more common, and now some airports are urging flyers to arrive here 3, even 4 hours before their flights.
Democrats are refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security until reforms are made to immigration enforcement tactics. Former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf.
If, Democrats are serious about protecting the homeland, then let's pay our professionals, the men and women that we charge to protect everyday Americans. Let's be sure to pay them. That's the least that Congress can do.
Wolf says it's an outrage that DHS funding remains frozen at a time when the U.S. is on high alert for acts of terrorism against the homeland. The U.S. Senate expected to begin debate today on the Save America Act. It requires voters show proof of citizenship to cast ballots in elections. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley.
This is what most states do. It's just a few states who don't want to do it because they want illegals voting.
The bill is not expected expected to get the support it needs for passage. Postmaster General David Steiner is testifying before Congress today. He warns the United States Postal Service is hemorrhaging money and will run out of money in 2027. That's next year. Steiner wants to raise the price of a first-class stamp to nearly $1. Right now, it costs 78 cents to mail a letter. A Biden-appointed judge has taken action to halt the nation's health secretary from enacting controversial new vaccine policies.
A federal judge in Boston has blocked an order from Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to end recommendations that all children be vaccinated against flu, rotavirus, hepatitis A and B, some forms of meningitis, and RSV. And the judge ruled Kennedy likely violated procedures when he changed the members of the vaccine advisory panel.
Correspondent Heather Bosch, it took less than 3 hours yesterday for a Utah jury to convict a mother of murdering her husband in a plot to collect insurance benefits. Corey Richins is facing 25 to life when sentenced this spring for poisoning her husband with fentanyl. A year after his death, Richins wrote a children's book about coping with grief. Today is St. Patrick's Day, and that means parties, parades, and lots of green. Reporter Tanya J. Powers has more on the history of the holiday.
St. Patrick's Day honors Ireland's patron saint and started in the 9th or 10th century when Christians held a feast day on March 17th to remember him on the date of his death in the 5th century. And while it began as a religious holiday, many current day traditions actually began in America, like the first St. Patrick's Day parade, which was held in St. Augustine, Florida in 1601. Today, parades are happening across the U.S., with the largest being held in New York City.
The 265th annual New York City St. Patrick's Day parade is happening right now, as a matter of fact. President Trump welcomes the Prime Minister of Ireland to the White House today. The World Baseball Classic finale is set for tonight in Miami.
The U.S. will face Venezuela, which advanced with a 4-2 win over Italy. Aaron Judge and company will be making their third straight WBC title game appearance after winning it in 2017 and falling short in 2023. First pitch from Miami is set for 8 Eastern.
That's CBS sports reporter Erica Herskowitz. And still to come on the Noon Report this St. Patrick's Day, community college daycare centers, transparency issues in Happy Valley, and Hochul urging caution when it comes to climate change legislation.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. Oh, winter is certainly back. Very cold conditions will continue this afternoon and tonight. For this time of year, we'll have forecast details up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. That wind-blown snow and ice causing power problems across New York and Pennsylvania. Not to mention, it's not that fun to drive in either. Schools across the listening area were closed today. Hundreds still in the dark in the Lehigh Valley, central Pennsylvania, and downwind of the Great Lakes in western New York and northwestern Pennsylvania. Today, by the way, is the coldest St. Patrick's Day we've had here in about 25 years. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is urging state lawmakers to delay implementation of the 2019 Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. She says if enacted as is, that landmark climate change law will add about $4,000 a year to home heating bills and tack on another $2.30 a gallon to gasoline prices.
I believe that the goals of this law to build a clean energy future is a noble one, but I also have to have responsibility to protect people from rising costs. If the path forward is only going to drive prices higher, then we have to act.
Speaking from a Sunoco station in Tonawanda yesterday, the governor would not commit to suspending the state gas tax in an effort to drive down pump prices, which have risen 62 cents a gallon in New York in just the past 2 weeks. Pennsylvania politicians are demanding more transparency from Penn State University when it comes to how that school spends taxpayer dollars. State Senator Pat Stefano.
If you're going to take tax dollars to run your university, then you need to be able to answer for those tax dollars, and they are not. We are constantly pushing back, but we're getting to the point where we're going to have to take some legal action.
Penn State is closing 7 satellite campuses while offering massive buyout package to its former football coach and a huge salary increase to the school's president. president. It's also charging more for in-state tuition than any school right now in the Big Ten. Nearly a dozen SUNY schools across New York will open childcare centers soon. This is for adult learners with children who are pursuing degrees in high-demand fields. One of those schools is Tompkins Cortland Community College in Dryden, New York. School president Amy Kremenek.
Over half of our student population is what one might consider to be adult students, ages 25 and above. And so we know for many of our students what makes the difference between them being able to enroll, but also to continue in their classes and graduate.
TC3, as it's known, is getting $200,000 from the state of New York to accommodate a child care center. The SUNY Reconnect program offers tuition-free community college to adult learners who are pursuing degrees in high-demand fields. In order to qualify, applicants must be between the ages of 25 and 55 and be a resident of New York. A new program in Pennsylvania looks to help food assistance recipients keep those benefits while meeting new federal work requirements. Details on that from Family Life's Brian Query.
The effort connects recipients under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program with education and job training programs at sites like PA CareerLink. State labor officials say the goal is to make sure people understand how training programs can help them maintain the benefits they rely on to buy food. The program also highlights opportunities like registered apprenticeships, allowing participants to earn a paycheck while learning job skills. The changes come after new SNAP work requirements were signed into law last year. Brian Query, Family Life News.
New York Assembly Republicans are pushing for changes to the state's HALT Act, which bans the use of long-term solitary confinement in prison. GOP lawmakers argue that law has created security concerns and led to staffing shortages all over New York. Corrections Union Rep Stephen Torsiello.
Policies that affect correctional facilities must balance humanity and safety. Right now, that balance is missing. The men and women we all represent deserve to go home the same way that they came in safely.
He says prison officials need more flexibility in managing dangerous inmates. New York National Guard troops have been deployed now for over a year to several prisons in New York, as thousands of prison guards have quit their jobs due to unsafe working conditions. March Madness is coming to Buffalo, and local leaders say it's a big moment for the Queen City. Travis Teletochi is commissioner of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference.
All eyes of the college basketball and sports world will be focused here this week as some of the nation's biggest and best basketball programs comes to town.
The first of 6 men's postseason games tip off at 1:30 p.m. this Thursday at the KeyBank Center. Buffalo Bills and Sabres COO Pete Goelli.
This is a fantastic city. It's a sports city. We've got some of the greatest fans in the world, and now one of the biggest sporting events in the country is coming here. I think it's the perfect opportunity to showcase everything that Buffalo's about.
19,000 people are expected to flock to Buffalo this weekend for the best there is in college basketball. Mayor Sean Ryan recommends out-of-towners park in city-owned lots and then take public transit to the stadium. We've got more sports next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, we begin at Madison Square Garden. Last night, the Blue Shirts got dominated by the LA Kings. LA had a goal in the first, 2 in the second, while the Rangers could not find the back of the net. Both teams scored a goal in the third period, but by then it was too late for New York to mount a comeback. 4-1, your final. The Penguins got a pair of goals from Evgeny Malkin on his return from suspension. They blew out Colorado 7-2. Pittsburgh scored 4 times in the first period while taking out the league-leading team on their home ice. The Red Wings, Devils, and Mammoth also skated to victories. In the NBA, the Trailblazers were all over Brooklyn, jumping out to a 15-point lead after the first quarter. The lead was 24 at the half, and Portland never looked back, winning 114-95. The Hawks, Warriors, Celtics, Bulls, Pelicans, Lakers, and Spurs also picked up wins. At the World Baseball Classic, Venezuela rallied to eliminate Italy 4-2, so it will be Venezuela against the United States for the championship. They will play tonight in Miami. One football note. The New York Jets have traded quarterback Justin Fields to the Kansas City Chiefs for KC's 6th-round pick in 2027. Finally, this. March Madness officially begins today with a pair of first four matchups. Tomorrow night, the other two first four matchups will be played. And then the tournament really gets underway on Thursday right around noon. So there's still time to get your brackets filled out. That is a look at sports.
Yes, indeed, Randy. I just finished mine, as a matter of fact. Thank you kindly, sir. And still to come on the Noon Report. Eliminated in Iran. Back to winter weather. And a ministry that turns listless boys into godly men. It's our Mission Pulse feature after this.
Welcome to Breakpoint, daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. Of the thousands of green-clad parade-goers, marchers, and partiers today, few know about St. Patrick, the man for whom today's holiday is named. Even fewer still know of the man beyond the legend, who supposedly drove the snakes out of Ireland, and certainly possessed an indomitable faith in Jesus Christ. Back in 2006, Chuck Colson told St. Patrick's story here on Breakpoint in a commentary. Here's Chuck Colson.
Patrick was born in Roman Britain to a middle-class family about 390 AD. When Patrick was a teenager, marauding Irish raiders attacked his home. Patrick was captured, taken to Ireland, and sold to an Irish king, who put him to work as a shepherd. In his excellent book, How the Irish Saved Civilization, Thomas Cahill describes the life Patrick lived. Cahill writes, the work of such slave shepherds was bitterly isolated, months at a time spent alone in the hills. Patrick had been raised in a Christian home, but he didn't really believe in God. But now, hungry, lonely, frightened, and bitterly cold, Patrick began seeking out a relationship with his Heavenly Father. As he wrote in his Confessions, I would pray constantly during the daylight hours, and the love of God surrounded me more and more. 6 years after his capture, God spoke to Patrick in a dream, saying, your hungers are rewarded. You are going home. Look, your ship is ready. What a startling command. If he obeyed, Patrick would become a fugitive slave, constantly in danger of capture and punishment. But he did obey, and God protected him. The young slave walked nearly 200 miles to the Irish coast, and there he boarded a waiting ship and traveled back to Britain and his family. But as you might expect, Patrick was a different person now, and the restless young man could not settle back into his old life. Eventually, Patrick recognized that God was calling him to enter a monastery. In time, he was ordained as a priest, then as a bishop. Finally, 30 years after God had led Patrick away from Ireland, he called him back to the Emerald Isle as a missionary. The Irish of the 5th century were a pagan, violent, and barbaric people. Human sacrifice was commonplace. Patrick understood the danger and wrote, I am ready to be murdered, betrayed, enslaved, whatever may come my way. Cahill notes that Patrick's love for the Irish shines through his writings. He worried constantly for his people, and not just for their spiritual, but for their physical welfare. Through Patrick, God converted thousands. Cahill writes, only this former slave had the right instincts to impart to the Irish a new story, one that made sense of all their old stories and brought them a peace they had never known before. Because of Patrick, a warrior people lay down the swords of battle, flung away the knives of sacrifice, and cast away the chains of slavery. As it is with many Christian holidays, St. Patrick's Day has lost much of its original meaning. Instead of settling for parades and cardboard leprechauns and the wearing of the green, we ought to recover our Christian heritage, celebrate the great evangelist, and teach our kids about this Christian hero.
That was Chuck Colson from 2006 talking about St. Patrick. And from all of us, happy St. Patrick's Day. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint. For more resources to live like a Christian in this cultural moment, go to colsoncenter.org.
All right, thank you, John. Let's head outside. Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life forecast for this afternoon. Brisk winds and cold with clouds, sunny intervals, and snow showers. Temperatures will hold in the 20s most of the time. Then for tonight, it are cold for this time of year. We're down the teens, partly cloudy with flurries. Lake snow could accumulate a few inches east and southeast of Lake Ontario. Then tomorrow, an early flurry spots. Otherwise, sun and clouds, high temps 30s. Thursday, cloudy, a touch of snow early, a few sprinkles late with high temperatures then. into the 40s.
I thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm your host, Bob Price. Here's what's happening Tuesday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day 2026. Iran's top security chief is no longer alive. Ali Larijani was eliminated in an Israeli missile strike overnight. Trey Yingst at Fox News.
On Friday, he was walking through the streets of Iran, threatening the United States in live TV interviews. Today, he is dead.
Larijani was a close ally of the late Ayatollah, who was killed at the start of Operation Epic Fury. The head of Iran's Gestapo-like police force also taken out today. He was responsible for commanding the crackdown on protesters in Iran earlier this year. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is calling on the federal government to do more to drive down sky-high gas prices. Scott Pringle has that story.
The average price for a gallon of regular is up about 62 cents in New York State since the war started with Iran. Hochul blames President Trump and Republicans for rising prices while highlighting a series of proposals that she has made at the state level aimed to bring utility costs down.
And New Yorkers deserve leaders who understand that what families are up against. You know that when prices go up, when gas goes up, everything gets more difficult.
Energy Secretary Chris Wright is expressing optimism that gas prices will fall below $3 a gallon by summer. In New York, I'm Scott Pringle.
Spring arrives officially 3 days from now, but you wouldn't know it looking outside. It's the coldest St. Patrick's Day we've had in 25 years. CBS forecaster Rob Marciano.
It's one of the coldest St. Patrick's Day on the East Coast that we've seen in quite some time. Matter of fact, here in Chicago, it's been 80 years since we've seen a St. Patrick's Day this cold. A far cry from what they had on Saturday when they had the big celebration with temperatures in the 60s.
Wicked weather's led to gridlock at the airports, too. It's not all weather-related, however. NBC's aviation consultant Tom Costello.
This was really, and it has been, a 1-2 punch, with the weather yesterday really affecting the East Coast and the Midwest. And then on top of that, we've had the TSA wait times because the government shutdown, partial shutdown, continues with 50,000 TSA officers working without pay for more than a month now.
Democrats are refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security until reforms are made to immigration enforcement tactics. 100 miles off the coast of Florida, there's a blackout on the island of Cuba, communist Cuba. The power grid there has collapsed. More than 10 million Cubans are in the dark. President Trump at the White House yesterday called Cuba a failed state.
Whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now. They were for a long time.
Cuba is suffering economically ever since the U.S. took control of the oil from Venezuela earlier this year. A federal judge has blocked changes made to vaccine policy by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This includes his reduction of the number of recommended childhood immunizations and his remaking of a key vaccine advisory panel. The Biden-appointed judge has sided with the American Academy of Pediatrics. The U.S. Health Department is appealing the judge's ruling. Team USA will be going for the gold, so to speak, tonight in the World Baseball Classic. They take on Venezuela in the finale of that international competition. Fox Sports baseball analyst and MLB Hall of Famer John Smoltz.
The atmosphere has been electric here in Miami. It's the loudest stadium I think I've ever been in. The country that the players are represented means more to them than ever before for a lot of reasons. And Team USA has put together the best roster I've ever seen. So the pressure's been on them from the very start. They're ready for the moment, and I think tonight is going to be one of those must-watch, and there are not going to be a lot of people sitting down in the stadium.
Should be a great game. Team USA hoping to win their first World Baseball Classic since 2017, almost a decade. First pitch set for 8 o'clock on Fox. March Madness officially tips off tonight in Dayton, Ohio. The NCAA men's postseason basketball tournament begins with a pair of first four matchups. The University of Maryland, Baltimore County takes on Howard for the right to play top-ranked Florida. The nightcap will feature Texas versus NC State for a chance to take on BYU in the opening round. You're listening to the Noon Report for Tuesday on Family Life.
This is Mission Pulse. We spotlight ministries making a difference where you live, across the country, and around the world. This week, we're spotlighting Chuck Holton with Frontier Forge Institute, a field leadership course for young men. Chuck, tell me more.
We need godly men, we need leaders, and there just aren't enough options out there for them that will intentionally train them in an environment that is built for the way that young men are hardwired. It's high adventure, it's exciting, you've got godly men who are mentoring them every step of the way. So the Frontier Forge Institute is a summer leadership program. It is a week-long program with an incredible cadre of men that will take these guys, get them off their screens for a week, get them out in the sun, doing manly work. Everything we do feeds into the biblical wisdom aspect. If you look back 100 years ago, young men, by the time they were 8, were out in the fields working with their dads and their grandfathers, and they were around the men. They were picking up what manhood is like. Most boys today are raised almost exclusively by women. They are spending an inordinate amount of time on various different digital screens, learning to interact with people through a virtual environment and not in a real environment until you get to the point where you're supposed to get married and have babies. And what we're finding is this subculture of young men who spend their time in their mom's basement playing video games, and they're watching tons of pornography and violent video games that give them this sense of free-floating anger at the world because I'm watching the most intimate of human experiences, but nobody will do that with me because I'm in my mom's basement playing video games all the time. And it's just this vicious cycle. And we've got to try to give parents and grandparents an outlet where they can send their sons to get away from the screens, get off of a digital realm for a little while, learn some real hands-on skills that will make them more valuable human beings, especially in a crisis, and will give them confidence and courage and will help them learn how to do that delicate dance of forming relationships in real life, face-to-face. Give them an off-ramp from this cultural shift that we see that's being so damaging to men today.
Your website reads, the goal is to build young men up, not tear them down. In the back of my mind, I'm wondering how a former Army Ranger can bring these boys in off of screens and get them on their feet to where they desire to work through hardship and to figure out complicated things. This isn't a behavior rehabilitation program. It's for teens that are ready to grow.
Yeah, they've got to want to be there. This is not a place for adjudicated youth. It's not a scared straight program. What I have found is that young men will live up to your expectations of them if you make those expectations clear and you set a clear example. And they want to take on the facets of manhood. A lot of the unhealthy behaviors that we see young men engage in these days, putting a tattoo in your middle of your face or driving 900 miles an hour down the freeway or getting a 6-foot-tall pickup truck with flames on the side. Not that any of those things are necessarily evil. It's just that those are outgrowths of young men's insecurity, trying to build a facade of manhood instead of actually doing the work to become a man. What we want to do is kind of educate them. We give them a 5-step process. If you want to know if you've got what it takes, if you want to know if you're a man yet, you measure yourself by these 5 things, and then you will know what you need to work on. Boys, I have found, will eat that up.
Tell me a story of a teenager who made it, someone who's had an impact on you.
There was a young man that I mentored over the last several years. I met him when he was about 14. His parents were all but done with him. He was about to get kicked out of school. When I met him, I saw in him the young man that I was at that age. And I said, this kid's not a bad kid. He's just bored stiff because he's got so much potential and nobody is drawing that out of him. So I had started inviting him up to our place. He actually came up right when the COVID lockdowns happened and ended up being stuck at our house for 11 weeks. It was awesome because we got to work out together every day. I got to mentor him every day and really saw him being enthusiastic about applying the things that I was teaching him. You know, it's one thing if you offer advice to a young kid and he kind of blows you off, but this kid wasn't like that. He really wanted what I was offering. I continued to mentor him. We traveled together. I started taking him with me on some of my reporting things. I took him to the border of Venezuela. We went to Armenia several times. And in that process, he got to know our family really well. Long story short, he's now my son-in-law. He got to know your family really well. yeah, he did. So I'm extremely pleased with the way that he turned out, and he's such a good kid. He was really misunderstood. It seems like our educational system is made for girls, not for boys. And they're saying, no, stay here, you sit in your seat, and you be a good little boy, and don't do anything dangerous. It just crushes their spirits. But if you give them some room to run and you raise your expectations of them to a point beyond what they even think they can accomplish, then you're going to see some real progress in them toward manhood.
Learn more at frontierforge.org.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much. The name of the program, Mission Pulse. Mondays, during the Noon Report, we spotlight ministries that are making a difference where you live, across the country, and around the world.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The storm system that brought the recent rain, thunder, wind, and snow is in eastern Canada, moving away now, but it's going to keep us in its cold, icy grip through the night. For this afternoon, brisk winds and cold with clouds, sunny intervals, and snow showers. And there could be an inch or so in spots from lake effect and elevated areas. Temperatures will hold in the 20s most of the time. Then for tonight, bitter cold for this time of year. We're down the teens, partly cloudy with flurries. Lake snow could accumulate a few inches east and southeast of Lake Ontario. Then tomorrow, an early flurry spots. Otherwise, sun and clouds, high temps 30s. Thursday, cloudy, a touch of snow early, a few sprinkles late with high temperatures then into the 40s.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Finally at noon, if you call music's most famous phone number, Jenny won't answer, but a cancer support expert will. That number is now a hotline to help people impacted by cancer. 867-539-98. And that's the number. Tommy Two-Tone lead singer Tommy Heath says he has personal experience with cancer, and he's happy to help out any way he can, even giving up that famous phone number for a good cause. When you call 867-5309, you'll receive guidance, resources, and cancer support. And here's the best part. The call is free. Yeah, call now while operators are standing by. And that's our world, the world we live in. Tuesday, St. Patrick's Day, the 17th of March. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.